So by now, I mean, everybody should know and be aware of the Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole. I mean, unless you've been under a rock the last, week or so, you've probably seen the video or at least heard about it. Now, Draymond Green did step away from the team with no really timetable or anything to return. And the big question is, what was Golden State going to do? Originally, Golden State said that they were going to handle it eternally and that a suspension may be coming. And then the video leaked and it kind of made everything more amplified, everything kind of blown up even more. And it just was a really bad video. I mean, Draymond Green, look, NBA fights happen. Fights happen between teammates, stuff like that. But this was another level. This wasn't two guys getting in each other's face and, throwing punches at each other. No, this was Draymond Green start to finish being a clear aggressor, getting chest to chest, bumping Jordan Poole with the shoulder, stuff like that. Jordan Poole kind of gives him the shove of get out of my face. And then Draymond just wails into him. I mean, that was an intention to hurt him. That wasn't like a, chin check, don't put your hands on me type thing. He was an aggressor and just over the top ridiculous from start to finish. And it's something that Draymond has a history with, just being aggressive, just being, just a bully in so many ways. We've seen patterns. This wasn't a first time thing. If this was something that happened once, okay, fine. And the big question though is that what was going to happen, right? Because this is inexcusable. Even if this was the first incident that ever happened with Draymond, there's no excusing it. But again, it's a little more, okay, maybe it was just a bad day. Maybe something happened. Maybe we don't have all the details, whatever. But this is clearly something that Draymond has a pattern of, and he needed repercussions. Well, it turns out that Draymond Green is not going to get repercussions. Turns out that nothing is going to happen to Draymond Green, and that he is supposed to be returning to the team on Thursday, according to Steve Kerr. And I think that this is just disgusting. This is uncalled for, because you're not setting an example. This is supposed to be an organization and a culture that is just bar none, top of the top, cream of the crop type culture. And this is a bad precedent. And I personally think the NBA needs to get involved, because Draymond needs some repercussions. He needs to learn it's not okay to do these kinds of things, because the reason Draymond does what he does is because the Warriors allow him to continue to do this kind of stuff, and I understand how important he is to the Warriors. I understand how significant he is to the Warriors, but you're putting such a bad situation. Even if you gave him a slap on the wrist type thing, that's one thing, but it's just, it's to do nothing. I mean, Draymond Green got fined. According to Steve Kerr, he said Draymond Green was fined, but will not be suspended and will rejoin the Warriors on Thursday. That's not enough to me. You fined him, what, 10 grand? Who cares? The guy's making $25 million a year. This isn't good. That's not what needs to be done. What needs to be done is you need to show a real repercussion for Draymond's actions and show this is not something that is okay. You're setting a bad precedent. You're allowing this guy who is supposed to be your leader, who is supposed to be the example of the team, just get away with being negligent and just a bully. And it's you have so many young, impressionable players. And Draymond went after the easiest target in the room. He's nothing more than a pathetic bully. He didn't go after Steph, who's the superstar, or Clay, or Wiggins, or even a guy his size like Looney. Try to go punch Looney and see what happens. Draymond probably would have gotten the shit kicked out of him. But no, he saw Jordan Poole as this, he's not going to fight back. And even if he tries, he's not going to be able to, you picked on the smaller guy. It doesn't make you anything other than a clown. And the Warriors having no repercussions, it makes no sense. And so one of the things that Kerr says is, this is the biggest crisis that we've had since I've been a coach here. But that Draymond and Poole had a great discussion, and that I think it will help us moving forward, as Steph has been working like crazy behind the scenes to help all parties. What would help is to use Draymond Green as an example that nobody is bigger than the organization and nobody is bigger than the team, because you are allowing him to behave in such a manner, and then basically slap him on the wrist and say, hey, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Hey, they talked about it. They're good. Everything's good. Like, that's fine. Like, Jordan Poole and Draymond Green could be best friends. That's not, the problem isn't Draymond Green and Jordan Poole having, a friendship or not. The problem is it's a bad precedent for the Warriors and it's a bad precedent for other situations in the league. Because this is public, because this is something that is out there. What happens, another team? Like this was not just like a pecking order thing, right? This wasn't like Jordan punching Kerr where they're going at it back and forth and all that stuff, and it just kind of got swept under the rug. Jordan was the golden boy. Like even the NBA, I don't even think the NBA would have done anything and stepped in because of that. And now you're treating Draymond Green as the golden boy, and it's not a good look, And then what's going to happen if he does something again? Because he's like, hey, because he's not thinking of the repercussions in the back of his head. He's not thinking of the repercussions in the back of his mind. Like, I think he needs to have a real suspension without pay. You paid your fine. Okay, fine. That was for being a knucklehead and violating the organization. Well, now you're going to get a suspension. And I really do think the league needs to step in and do that. And I just... I know people, because I've seen the comments, people try to make excuses. There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for being a bully. And if anybody defends him, you're a coward as much as he is. You're as pathetic as he is, because there is no excuse. There's no reason for that. This wasn't a bar. This wasn't a nightclub. This wasn't anything like that. This was a practice between teammates and brothers in arms that are going to the NBA and trying to win a championship, and it's supposed to be friendly. Do fights happen? Yes. Do things happen? Yes. If Jordan Poole and Draymond Green got into a scuffle, then it would be a completely different situation, but that wasn't the case here. Draymond Green, from start to finish, was the guy just escalating it further and further and further and gave a hit that really could have caused some damage. He is lucky he didn't break his jaw or something like that. And we've seen that with the Bobby Portis thing, right? Like there are situations that this happen. And right now, what if Jordan Poole had to go to the hospital or, he did break his jaw or something like that? Like everybody would, you're still like, it doesn't matter that there wasn't a significant injury due to the result. The fact is the action still happened and something still happened. And Draymond Green, being an idiot, decided to go and do something like that. Like that's not, like there's no excuse for that. And then to just sweep this under the rug, which we all knew was going to happen. I've said it in live streams, I said it in videos, like they were just going to sweep this under the rug. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to sweep this under the rug like it never happened. And they're just going to move on and move forward. And look, from an organizational standpoint, I understand that. I get it. I get it from like a business aspect. Like, the last thing you want is this, like, muddying the water. And it's just best to just ignore it and move on. I do get that. But from an NBA level and from a organizational level that is held to this prestigious standard and looked at as like a model for success, like they need to do something. You need to show that Draymond Green isn't above the team, isn't above the organization. I understand he's so impactful. I understand he's so important. I understand that he's, a guy that you want to keep around and stuff and that, could very likely leave. But if that's the result, that's the result. At least you did the right thing. If Draymond has a problem with it, at least you did the right thing. This wasn't the right thing here. This was them allowing Draymond Green to get away with physically assaulting somebody. And the problem is Jordan Poole isn't going to do anything because we live in a society where people look at it as, oh, you're weak. You're a cow, you're this, that, when that's not what the case is. He was sucker punched by Draymond Green. This was, and so I've seen so many people say, you can't be sucker punched if you're standing. Of course you can. This wasn't a bar fight. This wasn't at a club. This wasn't anything. This would be like your best friend and you get in a little argument and he gets in your face. You're not going to expect him to hit you, and if you have that kind of friendship, what kind of friendship do you really have? If your best friend is just going to sock you in the face because of an argument or a heated moment, then you probably he's probably not really your friend, or a family member or relative and stuff like that. Like friends fight, brothers fight. I have, 2 brothers myself. So I've been in situations where, we have those brotherly arguments, those brotherly fights, but neither of us are running up and wailing on each other because we're brothers. We love each other. We care about each other. Like it's not the same thing. This was not that. This was not like, a brotherly fight or a friend fight. I've gotten in fights with friends before, but it wasn't like this. We never walled off and just tried to just take each other's heads off. I've never gotten in a fight with my brothers like this. Maybe we get in a little shouting match, we get in a little pushing match, something like that. But maybe a little wrestling match, but you're not trying to just clobber the other person. Like, it's just not what you do. And to condone this and to say anything otherwise is just, you're as much of a coward as he is. You're as pathetic as he is. And there needs to be repercussions for this. Like, if he did that in the street, this guy would be facing years in prison. Like, this guy would be in big, big trouble. But when you're the NBA and, you're an NBA player, things operate a little differently. This isn't a 9 to 5. This isn't like, a McDonald's worker or something like that. This is an NBA player. They get completely different rules, completely different everything. It's just, it's a completely different thing, but he still needs to have repercussions, like he still needs to understand, like, this is not okay, because this isn't a one-time thing. This wasn't like hey, I just had a bad moment. I just had a bad day. This dude had according to him, Draymond Green himself said it, that he had a bad day or a bad moment or whatever and took it out on Jordan Poole. And it was clear that he did. He didn't just try to hit the guy. He tried to knock that dude out. He tried to take his head off. And that dude could have broken his eye socket. That dude could have broken his jaw. That guy could have done some serious long-lasting damage. And then what? Draymond's lucky that didn't happen. But just because that didn't happen doesn't mean that it's like, okay, well, no harm, no foul. It just doesn't work like that. It's not the way it should be. But anyway, I think it's ridiculous personally. But as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. This is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. And, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between, whatever your thoughts are, whether you agree, disagree, I'd love to hear your opinions. I just don't know how you can defend this guy. I don't know how you can defend his actions. I don't know how you can defend. And I've seen people in the comments from previous videos try to just make up excuses and stuff like that. And again, I think you're a clown. I think you're a coward as much as he is, and if you have friends like that, you need to get a new group of friends. If you're that friend, you need to look in the mirror and change yourself, because that's not the way you behave. As an adult, as a man, that's not how you behave. You don't behave that way. As a leader, as a professional athlete, as somebody that is the standard and setting the culture in that environment, it's not what you are. That's not what you do. That's not what leaders do. And if you're somebody that condones that, and you're somebody that thinks that that's okay, and you think you're somebody that does that, then you're definitely not a leader. And you're definitely not a man. You're a coward. So I don't know how you condone it. I don't know how you defend that. I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me. But those are my thoughts and opinions. So let me know yours down in the comments.